disclaimer for the video ahead. If you are really going to get upset about me calling you cringe, which I will do at least twice in this video, you should probably not watch the video. It's all in jest, it's all playful, but it is a little bit, I don't know. I'm not holding the back here. This isn't Kitty Glove Magic the Gathering roasting. I'm gonna tell you you're a piece of shit for playing these decks. All of them, even the ones I like. With that out of the way, into the video. So are you looking forward to building a new commander for Modern Horizons 3, but you're not excited about the price tag of a mythic or chase rare in a premium price set? Then it might be a modern all-star and thus command a huge price. Are you looking for someone to make you feel embarrassed and perhaps dissuade you from your terrible, terrible decisions?
Stop it. Get some help.
Well, don't worry, friends. Allow me to roast every single commander coming up in Modern Horizons 3 that you might be interested in building. Maybe it'll dissuade you from the poor financial decisions. Maybe it won't. I'm not your dad. Even if you wish I was, because your dad's not very nice. In this video, we're going to be talking about the new Legends from Modern Horizons 3 and its associated commander product that's not actually legal in Modern in spite of being called Modern Horizons. That means we're not going to talk about the reprint commanders. So the Bionicle Sex Pest is out, and Baby's first aggro combo deck won't make it onto the list. What is interesting is that one of those that I just mentioned is now modern legal and the other one is not. But at first glance, you wouldn't really know without understanding or learning the set symbols. I don't think I'll ever quite get over the fact that Modern Horizons had a commander product. I get it because I'm deeply, deeply entrenched and I can process all this information because I have to deal with it on a daily basis. But the average kid going down to your game store is probably very confused. Anyway, before we get to the spit roast, let's talk about the products and services that bring you this channel. If you want to pick up a single or sealed product, go to coolstuffinc.com. Use the link in the description below to get 5% off your order and it helps to support the show. And if you like the cut of my jib, the shape of my bearded chin that hides the multiple chinny chin chins beneath, why don't you support the channel and the content that I make via Patreon. Patreon is like a crowdsourcing platform for people doing things that basically are difficult to do on the internet. Talking about luxury cardboard rectangles is not the easiest thing to monetize, especially when you like to talk about dicks and semen. So why not get involved with my Patreon for $2 a month that gets you access to this Discord server where we have Canadian Highlander and Warhammer Leagues currently about to fire when I stop being a lazy fuck. The events on there often have prize support and they're free to enter for anyone who's on the Patreon. So give $2 a month, is less than half a cup of coffee, and it helps support me to keep making the videos that you're watching right now, that you're injecting into your eyeballs. Link to my Patreon down below. Right. Roasting. Let's start with the low-hanging fruit, shall we? Tentacle jokes. Like, haha, I'm sure you love tentacles. But the reality is, beneath the mass of writhing, slimy, succulent tentacle meat is a player who wants the table to hate them. Now, I get it. It's not just the bulbous, thick veins of those extremities that they never seem to end. It's also the feeling of disappointing your parents and being hated. The masochistic, neither feminine nor masculine urge to be humiliated through rejection. Because in spite of the succulent delight of those slithering protrusions, no motherfucker wants to play with you again after you exile half our library, then hit them with an Annihilator 7 trigger. But I have to admit, those tentacles though. Staying on the topic of weird arousal that you never discussed with your mother, here's Ulalek. So you brought the Eldrazi precon, and yes, you should be ashamed because you went to the pay-to-win route this set. You looked at the most pay-to-win set, where it's the most expensive premium price product around, and thought, you know what? I want to pay more. I want to pay more to win. Ulalek is some smash-up of Ulamog and Kozilek, and for some reason known only to the scientists trying to sell you more magic cards through the power of power creep, that ended up being 5 color. And it's a 2/5, because our 5-mana commanders are a popular thing now, and it can't be a 10/10, I guess. Which half is Ulamog and which half is Kozilek? Is it Ulamog on the top, Kozilek on the bottom? Is it halfway down? Is it at a diagonal angle? I don't fucking know. All I know is that 5-mana Eldrazi commanders are cringe. If you're playing this, you're cringe. The Necro Bloom, a commander cherry-picked and hand-designed for an intersection of Magic players, garbage goblins, and the participation trophy baby. Garbage goblins I respect. The people who want to get as much value out of everything as they can. They can't leave a draw or card trigger on the table, and they love rummaging through their graveyard to recur things. I'm all about that life. It's all a good time until someone plays a rest in peace, and then you silently shit yourself into a depression. The participation trophy kids are the ones who want to be rewarded for taking the most basic of game actions, and sadly I must admit I was one of those too. Look, I've played a hell of a lot of touch over in the past that just says, well done, you played a ramp spell. You played a land, have a gold star. I'm not going to get too into the weeds about blue-green mana ramp players right now. We'll do that a little bit later with fucking Nardu. But this commander is kind of nuts, right? It's almost like they wanted to write this card is fucking silly on it, but they had to use code, and that code is half the text of a land banned in multiple formats, sandwiched amongst 2 other relevant abilities. A member of my Discord referred to this as the most pay-to-win commander of the lot, and whilst I don't agree as such that the set is truly pay-to-win, I don't believe Magic is pay-to-win in general, I must admit that this card feels incredibly fucking pushed. The kind of thing you wouldn't see in your average standard set, that's for sure. For the record, it's modern legal. Not that that matters, but just clarifying now and again, because it is confusing. Tamiyo is a card printed just to allow smug assholes like me on the internet to say, well done boys, we broke Brainstorm, except that has no bearing on Commander. Honestly, flipping Tamiyo is so grossly easy, I actually think my semen retention pizza box that I store under my bed could do it, and it only has an IQ of 35 last time I tested it. If someone is playing this at a table, be afraid, because Tamiyo doesn't appear to really do anything in the grand scheme of Commander besides drawing cards, and that means that person is probably insane and they've cracked it wide open. Sorin of House Markov. He's doing his best impression of the campest of Yu-Gi-Oh villains this set, and I don't mean that as a negative comment. I am here for it. I am glad to see my boy thriving in his youthful disgust at the spirit of a pharaoh sharing the body of a small boy.
Whatever you say, Yugi boy. Yugi boy, Yugi boy. Yugi boy.
Sorin has range, which a lot of other Planeswalkers lack. Mills and Boone cover star, rich brat Yu-Gi-Oh villain, a wall, he can do it all. But the problem with this card mechanically is that it's going to convince the worst player you know that life game is a valid strategy at the Commander table. And real friends don't let friends play Soul Sisters, even if the headliner is an impeccably dressed early game JRPG antagonist who eventually joins our party because they're not actually the main villain. Skoa is a sad affair. Last Modern Horizons set, we got Fury, a card that could be cast for free and kill 4 mana dorks if it wanted to. It changed the landscape of multiple formats and made me shit blood. It somehow gaslit Twitch chat into believing it always had flash, but this time around instead we've got Skoa. It's legendary and can be in the command zone, it's common, it's 6 mana, and it's completely and utterly dog shit. Look, I know it's a limited plant and it can shoot face, but when juxtaposed against the absolute batshit nonsense we often get in Horizon sets, this feels lacking. This callback to one of the most forgettable mechanics of all time is sorely lacking, and thus feels like it's also incredibly forgettable. You're going to lose a game of Limited where your bomb creature gets killed by a Skoa, but beyond that, you're never ever going to see this card in Commander. Before entering into a relationship with the hottest tapeworm in the universe, 6 was just your average tree folk. It's a Treefolk. 6 is a quite impressively pushed 3 mana green creature, but that, to be honest, green creatures get pushed so hard these days that this isn't that much of a surprise. It's like going to visit my alcoholic uncle and finding out that he shit the bed again. I'm not shocked by this. It doesn't impress me as a commander, but again, similar to Tamiyo, I feel like if this is in the command zone of someone's deck, I am immediately scared that they're doing way more than I thought was possible with such a, I don't want to say limited selection of abilities, because it's quite pushed and does a lot, but yeah, I'm not blown away when I first see it, and thus I treat it with huge amounts of suspicion. Shillingar, Sire of Famine, sounds more like a Pokemon that would lick you, and looks like a daddy that you would lick. Set up on a throne made of literal angel wings, I can't help but vibe with Shilgar. Candle for a head. It's an angel type or payoff that is going to combo kill you after self-milling, so you go hard and kill the player playing it before they can do this. However, that then turns out that you were kicking puppies, because while Shillingar themselves look like they fuck, the angel enthusiast who just pop stomped was quite literally the opposite. That's a joke about your opponent being a virgin. Wizards of the Coast absolutely love this design space of copying things. Spells or creatures or doubling shit right now. It seems like every set has multiple ways to make copies of creatures or double shit. Satyr is one of those, but with the set or deck mechanics slapped on top. An attack trigger, but some haste added on to ensure nothing can possibly trip you up as you steam towards activating your commander. It's fun, but so is riding a bike with stabilizer wheels. At some point you gotta let that baby fall, wizards. Let them break some bones. Kick them whilst they're down, you know? Kick them right in the fucking gut. On the upside, they have the restraint to not allow Satyr to copy tokens, and doesn't do the whole ignore the legend rule thing that we saw so much in recent time. I guess that amount of restraint should be saluted. It is admirable. Roshin is angry. She's angry that she's a metal worker for X spells that might draw you a card on ETB. Look, I think it's a neat design, but in a sea of flip walkers and ulamogs, Roshin looks like a Disturbed album in the early noughties new metal section. Toothless and a fucking embarrassment to pick up. Ral Monsoon Mage. No one, and I mean no one, is ever doing anything even remotely fair with a Baral in the command zone that flips over and says something along the lines of, lol, LMAO, Ruffle even. It's a fucking Storm Commander, which is as much of an insult as I want to muster from this tired mouth. Tired of this Storm shit. Flage is our first card to sound like a sexual maneuver. My face when she continued to flage on my fire's fury. Also, it's way too close to phage, which means I'm going to mishear people saying phage for a long time. In some ways, it's testament to the sexual power of the letter L, depending on how far you stick it in. Ultimately, this reads like a handcrafted modern burn card that only the weirdest of people are going to play in the command zone. Big props to a red-white commander not frothing at the gash about equipment though. Truly profound design there. Oh, Felia. It's hard to be upset with Felia. She's very fucking cute. I am somewhat upset this is the closest we'll ever get to a legendary Flicker Wisp. Not having an ETB on a flash body is going to confuse some people. It confused me for sure. And you'll see this miscast a lot at first. That said, I love me some Flicker. And I'm also sad that it isn't a legendary Dachshund because they're the greatest breed in the history of dogs. Further to that, you will meet one player paying Felia who will not shut the fuck up about doggos and petting and patting and how cute their commander is. And that might be wholesome to some, and even to me, but in the right circumstances, like a roast video, I have to mock you for it. Stop being so fucking cringe. Pearl Ear. Oh wow, lifelink and you draw cards when you cast auras onto modified permanents? I am shaking from the sheer innovation. Once I finished falling asleep to the sounds of passing cars, pedestrian and safe design space, I can admit that the giving auras affinity is kinda cute. But we all know it's just Eldrazi encryption, and Annihilated coming my way for criticizing the fox. So fuck that, I'm out. Omo. Omo might win the award for the most text without actually doing a fucking thing on her own. In some ways, it's refreshing that the commander itself doesn't have ward, trample, grows your team, draws you a card, and eats your ass. But also have to read that much text to then make eye contact with the controller for them to then tell me all my creatures are lizards in a soft whisper. It's just not what I need right now in my life. Nardu. 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 I'm sick of fucking Nardu. This card is so unbelievably pushed and cracked. This is kind of the outlier when it comes to the legendary creatures of the set. This feels like Modern Horizons 1 or 2 more than it does 3, where 3 has avoided breaking everything. Nardu is close. It is obnoxiously easy to combo with, because if you didn't know, all that text is one block. So each creature you control can be targeted twice to trigger and draw you a card or put a land into play off the top of your library. That means you can just move equipment around your board and just draw a million cards. I can't tell if Nardu is some sexy animorph, half bird, half man, or it's a theatre kid on steroids wearing a mask. And to make it worse, the bird boy has rippling abs that I'll never have and is doing some sort of water-bending interpretive dance that I know is going to make me feel uncomfortable because I'm British. And we aren't meant to dance unless we're 7 pints deep into a night of regret and sticky dance floors. But that, combo with the whole fact that this thing combos with anything, it's deeply unsettling. Sugar's price has spiked because this is such an easy engine to start popping off with. I'll have a whole video coming out tomorrow about this. At least we see some rather unique space of you can only do this twice a turn as opposed to the normally once a turn. But in all fairness, it was so badly applied in terms of templating, it practically doesn't fucking matter. And the worst part of it is, whenever you see this fucking deck popping off in any format, Brawl, Commander, Modern, Legacy, it's all going to end with a Thassa's Oracle, which is the most boring win condition in the history of the game. Fuck this shit. Another commander I'm going to find it hard to be mean about, not only because bears are wicked, but this one is cute and it's in a big chungus kind of way. But also turning everyone else's big stupid shit into a 2/2 bear is food for my stacks loving soul. Yes, it does combo obnoxiously with original Elish Norm, but I've never really looked at original Elish Norm resolving on a commander table and thought, oh goody, this seems fair and good to me, I'm glad this is happening. Bear turning everything else into bears and being the king among them is so much fun I can't bring myself to make a shitty joke about it. I guess the player will probably make bear puns and shit bear jokes, but to be honest, that's me. I am that player, but I do hate myself too, so that kind of tracks. Oh goody, you have a 9-mana Eldrazi in your command zone that draws a load of cards and creates bodies and buffs Eldrazi. This seems generically very good, but at 9 mana, what can you expect, to be honest? Ultimately, at least it isn't a 5-color access like module, or it doesn't have Annihilated 10 that makes it just feel awful to attack into anyone at the table that you aren't actually killing on one shot. I think the biggest problem with commanders like this is that there will be a Wrath and everyone is low on resources and you'll disrupt their mana by blowing up a Hedron Archive to avoid a Kozilek coming down and shooting them ahead, and they'll proceed to get very fucking angry at you and offer comments like, why? I never attacked you, as they spent the whole game setting up for haymakers like Kozilek. They'll say something like it's only a Kozilek broken reality, a physical manifestation of the eldritch powers from beyond the blind eternities. And I'll say, alright Trevor, calm down. Jyoti. Remember when we used to talk about Golos and how it paid for its own command attacks? Look, Jotty ain't no Golos, of course, but being able to shore up the command attacks cost of a commander you probably want to cast multiple times anyway because of its enter the battlefield trigger is very, very strong. And whilst making creature lands more powerful is cute, it being a blue-green value town landfall matters commander just feels like another round of beers when I've already got flat-ass drunk on Tatooine for years. I am tired and I am hungover from the blue-green value train. Unless it's making golems, then I'm back in. I guess we've covered both Nardu and the blue-green lands commander now, so I should say my little bit about blue-green commanders. The blue-green value train, the participation trophy baby sort of like commanders, I think they're the equivalent of chicken katsu curry at Wagamamas. Look, it tastes good and like being involved with it and consuming it is absolutely fine, and once in a while it absolutely scratches an itch. But you do know a couple of people that think they're really fucking smart for being into it. They think they've really expanded their horizons and they're really big brain, when in reality they're engaging with the most basic bitch part of the format. Imski. It's Thought Monitor, but for legendary, angry, and more likely to spit in your arsehole when asked. I don't know if we needed Thought Monitor but edgy, but I'm super into it. Color shifting a draw card payoff artifact into red-black and making it a demon makes it feel like it's serving Freak a little bit better. Unfortunately, the average Imski player is going to do some real normie shit like make a load of treasures and food with a Academy Manufacturer, but still post about it being a spicy deck listed on a subreddit filled with cupcake pictures. Hedegast the Erupting Nullkite. I really like this creature's name. All of it. It sounds like something you would call a particularly vile and explosive bowel movement, only so hard and awful that it makes you spontaneously speak German even. Oh, I wouldn't go in there, love. I just had a Heragast, an erupting nullkite kind of moment, if you know what I mean. Ironically, this command is just going to make people poop out Eldrazi, and that is something I can't help but shake my head at. Grist is a cute little bug commander planeswalker that's going to become a planeswalker when you cast a thing out of a bin, I guess. I think really it's going to do fuck all in a game of commander except blow up a Sol Ring quite regularly and piss people off. I think Grist might weirdly be secretly a negging commander, just getting people Sol Ring left, right, and center because it's the only thing in play when they first flip it. Genku is a Kamigawa themed card that makes rats, foxes, and moonfolk when things die or get flickered or get bounced. This card is for completely normal people that play Ari in League of Legends, and they do it for the art, not because she's a sexy cat girl. Emrakul. Yeah, this card doesn't seem broken or anything, as Commander is a multiplayer game, but my god does it feel like the most obnoxious way to piss off one player at a 4-person pod at the table. Getting Madness Online isn't going to be an issue in Commander, as you're going to be able to fill your deck with weird looting artifacts like Urza's Piss Bucket or Keys to the Shed or something. Remember, once you've triggered the Emrakul, the player who you're stealing from will never get those creatures back. Even if you counter the Emrakul, the cast trigger resolves, then the player casting Emrakul gets to keep your creatures. This is the kind of dirty fun you should only be having on your own at home behind closed doors or with explicit consent from everyone around the room. It's truly filthy shit. Elvish Piper and Future Sight fucked whilst both taking steroids. And here we are, with an elf commander who doesn't care about elves, weirdly. At some point in development, I think this thing probably said elf on it somewhere in its text box, like you know, you could look at the top card of your elf. Or maybe you elf creature spells. Or more likely, it would only hit elves, or needed elves to tap. But that's the honest truth, is that generically good sells packs over narrowly good. So the more cards that aren't shoehorned into a very specific archetype, the better for selling Magic cards. This is probably the best sneak attack commander ever printed in the command zone, and that makes me sweat like a social media company being asked about their data sharing policies in a court of law. DC the Vestless, just when you thought Tarmogoyf was dead, Wizards drove back around the block and shot him again from a moving vehicle. The moving vehicle was a gold-plated Lamborghini called Modern Horizons 3. The once $200 foil mythic is now but a token produced by a fun little commander. Rest in peace, Tarmogoyf. Beyond that, she's cute. I don't find the idea of getting Lurgoys back all that exciting, but it's cute enough for me not to be angry at someone playing it. I doubt this will ever offend me at a commander table. Koram the Undertaker is probably my favourite legend from the set, giving me an option to build Jund Mill, but I need to be mean to it in the interest of journalistic integrity. Koram looks like he smells like shit. You know he skulks around the graveyard and probably has a thing for rotting meat. And you know what? More power to him. You know he's an absolute freak because skulls on the belt is one thing, but what kind of a sick cunt collects spinal cords? Kaith, famed mechanist. When you're paying a premium for a Modern Horizons product, you don't have to pick a lane. Why not have access to both tech trees? Like an undecisive clanmate who never gets picked to join the raid, their perk picks have left them as a pretty solid jack of all trades but a master of none. For the terminally indecisive, or at least the illusion of it. I wonder how often a serious consideration has to be made when activating her in a turn cycle, or if the activation is always particularly clear. A tad pedestrian, but better than power crept up the shitter, I guess. Aslask. Yeah, look, I did a whole video on this cunt, and it's arbitrarily 5 colors to give Eldrazi players a third pair of stabilizing wheels to make sure they get bang for their buck when they buy an expensive precon. It's efficient in mana cost, and it pumps your team for the kill, and it gives them all Annihilator, which is about as popular as diarrhea shit in an elevator. A full video is linked in the description below. I do not like this commander. It's probably my least favorite from the entire set. I just think it's just dog shit. Watch the video. I explain it clearly for like 20 minutes. This card is a baffling piece of design that reads like someone is trying to hand in the notice for some appallingly bad work, only to be patted on the back and given a raise because it's power crept. It's obnoxious, but I guess that sells. Ashling farts out pyroclasms, and on occasion, much like myself, delivers a particularly packed and hot one, approximately every 3 times. My doctor doesn't know why it's so rhythmic. Much like classic Ashling, she's going to wrath away people's dorks, tokens, and utility, and then look surprised Pikachu to camera and ask, why is everyone targeting me when they have 15 mana just sat innocently in their mana pool? Our penultimate entry in the list is a classic bit of 2024 design. At least 2 whole keywords, a protective ward that makes you feel bad for being the person at the table that deals with her, and a ward of text at the bottom that doubles or copies or does something that you don't want to have to read, but you know because it's in the command zone that you're going to have to read it at some point. Look, I made a short on this. Making multiple Swords of Fire and Ice does sound fun, and it actually makes me a little aroused, but as I can't help but feel dirty looking at any of these 3 color or more keyword soup value engine commanders with ward, I can't get excited about this. I was told as a kid to raise myself up by my own bootstraps. And then Wizards of the Coast are out here giving us freebies, social healthcare, protected, well-started value engines, and hand-me-outs that say, don't worry, Timmy, I'll carry you over the finish line, you dumb little fuck. That's not how my mama raised me, and you shouldn't settle for it too. Ajani. We've talked about power creep, but what about beef creep? What about furry creep? Not only do we get a Johnny out here asking a large portion of the Magic audience to Google, how does cat dick work? But he's also backed up with a majestic Chippendale motherfucker of a token as well. On top of that, if you play him as a commander, you get to make all sorts of really fucking dumb pussy jokes throughout the night as well, to make everyone feel incredibly uncomfortable. A Johnny is the perfect mono-white commander for all types of horny, and I am here for it. Except he's not mono-white. You get to have some hot pussy in there too. That's right, I don't get to say hot pussy in a video very often, so I'm going to say it at least 3 times. Hot pussy.
Why are we still here?
Just help. And that is all the Modern Horizons 3 commanders that you're thinking of building that you shouldn't, you little fuck. If you like this video and you want to see more stuff like this, maybe put some input into what gets made on the channel, check out the links in the description below. CoolStuffInc.com to buy your singles and seal product, get 5% off your order, help support the show. But Patreon.com, $2 a month, get involved in the Discord server that I'm very active on. Come get involved, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.